So today is the second day for the training. So today's agenda will be also separated into two parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about how to build an automation program. And we also have some time for you guys to try build a program on your own so that you can get familiar with the feature. And then the second part, we'll talk about the reporting within the platform. I'll show you some commonly used or probably some of the reporting that you guys are more interested in. So in case you want to check the performance of the campaign you launched from Emarsys, you will know where to find it. Okay, so let's talk about the automation program. So basically, this is a function located in the automation menu under the automation. Okay, so potentially it could look something like this. Which can be quite complicated, but actually, if you are a beginner to this function, you don't need to be too scared of it because it can also be something pretty simple or something like that. You don't, when you start using this function, you don't need to really build a complicated path like this. And even if you do, our system now have some feature which already have some common use case in place, which you can enable the automation program in just a few clicks of the button. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to create a brand new program. So just go to the platform, automation menu, and then there's a function called automation. And then once you get in there, press the create program button to create a new one. Okay, then it will bring you to this screen. So this screen on the right hand side, this is your program's working area. And then on left hand side is a list of different kind of nodes that you can choose to add to your own program. Okay, in general, every program will have three parts. The first part would be an entry point, which determines what people or what customer will enter this program. So you need to define the criteria, like, for example, if this is the welcome program, then the newly created contact will enter this program. But for other stuff, maybe it will be a recurring filter. For example, maybe it is a birthday program or reactivation program, then you need to define what kind of person will fulfill the segment, and so that it will enter the program automatically. Okay, and then the second part would be some kind of action or some campaign that you are going to send. And in your Emarsys platform package, the channel will include email and also the CRM app, which is the social media advertising. Okay, and then the action will be something like maybe after you send them a campaign, maybe you can wait for some time before the next action to carry out. And you can also use some other segment or some filter switch to separate your contact within the program to run different paths or having different kind of journey depending on what the situation is. Okay, so in the most simple case, for example, if it is a really simple welcome program, it can only simplify to only contain maybe two nodes. So for example, the entry node for a welcome program would be new contact. If you add this node into your program, that would mean that once there's a contact created in this Emarsys account, it will be automatically added into this program. Okay, so this is an entry node, and one program will only have one entry node. Okay, so don't add multiple entry nodes into one program. And once you have decided what kind of contact will enter this program, you just right after this node, you just add the follow-up action. So usually the first action would be either a segment for filtering the contact who entered this program, or you can also directly send them some message, for example, an email. And to do that, you just click it once to the node you like to add a subsequent action, and then press the node you like to add after it. Then we'll add a node after this one. Okay, and then that would mean any newly created contact after they enter this program they will receive this email campaign. Okay. For each node, you can double click into it to configure the setting within it. For example, for a send email node, you can choose which campaign to send to your contact from this drop-down box. Okay, just create a campaign before or after this automation and then fill in this field. Then the program will send out the corresponding campaign accordingly. Okay, you can also rename each of the nodes to mark some of the to rename it to something that you know what's going on. For example, this is a send welcome email. Okay. And in the most simple case, basically a program can already end after this one. Okay, so in case your use case is pretty straightforward, like you only need to define who will enter this program and then you just send them one message, then this is how you do it. It should be pretty simple. But now we'll talk about some other commonly used use case, how to do them as a basic operation. Okay, so let me remove this first. So basically, for an automation program, I can categorize them into two main types. The first type is a recurrent program, which means this automation program would be active for a long time or even indefinitely. And then this program will run in a scheduled time, for example, daily, weekly, or monthly. And then every time when it runs, it will look for the suitable candidate at that time to bring those people into this program automatically. And then it will send out some messages automatically. So the example for this kind of program would be, for example, welcome program, and also reactivation program, something like that. Okay, I can give you some example using this slide. Okay, so automation program is actually quite a powerful tool because it will allow you to set up in your platform so that your customer, based on their life cycle or based on their purchase pattern, they will receive corresponding email automatically. So here in this graph, the green line means it's a journey of a loyal customer or an active customer. So they constantly buying from your brand. And for the blue line, this is a journey of a churning customer. Okay, and for these different type of customer within their journey, they will receive different type of messages from our from Emarsys if you have set up some automation program. So for example, for the active customer, they may receive newsletter constantly from you, and then when they keep buying from you, then probably you will use some segmentation to target them to send some cross-sell or upsell. And when they have a birthday or it is their registration anniversary, then you can automate the email to automatically send them some offer. And later on, if you have a loyalty program, you can also automate to send some loyalty related message to them to keep them active and retaining, let them stay active for as long as possible. And then for a churning customer, in case they haven't purchased from you guys for a long time, then you can set up some automatic program to launch some reactivation program to them. For example, you can also insert some voucher or incentive in it to encourage them to come back to buy from your brand. And of course, you can do it for multiple stages and increase the incentive in case they still staying inactive. And if they eventually come back to buy product from you, then you can also send a message to welcome them back. So these are just some examples. And here are some examples with the content. So some commonly used use case by our other client will include a welcome email. So when someone joins, they will receive message. Also very common is abandoned cart. So if someone fill your website, put something in cart, they will automatically receive an email. So can encourage them come back to finish the order. Other would be like birthday, which is pretty simple. and also a good way for increasing the chance of a customer making an order. And also other would be first-time buyers. So if someone have already made a purchase for their first time, usually you can send them a message to encourage them to do a second time. So it will turn into an active customer. And lastly, it will be the reactivation, so that you can reach out to those deflecting customers and then turn them back as an active customer. And another use for automation program is for sending multi-channel marketing. So I believe you guys mostly will send EDM to your customer, but also for some of the program, for example, like welcome message, because not everyone likely to or like to open or read their email, right? So in order, if you want to reach out to a broader range of audience, then it's quite common for marketers to send more different kind of channel to their customer. So for example, in your package, apart from email channel, you also have the CRM app, which is you can reach out to your customer using Facebook or Google Ads. So by using automation program, you can, apart from sending them for example, a welcome email, you can also display Facebook, Instagram, or Google advertising to them once they have joined your membership, for example, for the first 7 days or something. So even if someone isn't keen to check their email, they may also know that they can have some kind of welcome offer when they just join your membership. Okay, and of course, apart from welcome, you can also do the same in the different kind of life cycle status of your customer. And later on, if you may consider to add more different channel, Emarsys also provide some other channel, for example, like push message, web channel, which is the pop-up within your website, or SMS. Okay, then once you have acquired those channels, then you can also add them into different kind of program to increase the number of customers that can be reached by your messages. Okay, so usually most of type of the automation program will be the recurring one, and the other type of program would be a one-time program, or sometimes we call them ad hoc program. So those kind of program is a bit like an EDM. So it's like the email campaign you send regularly every week or even every day. But why do we need to create a program for them is because apart from sending them one email, maybe for that promotion or event, you may want to do some follow-up action after sending the first email to them. For example, maybe there's a summer promotion, you will send them one EDM, and after that, maybe wait for some time. You want to reach out to those that haven't opened or clicked the previous email. Maybe show them a Facebook or Google Ads afterward, or maybe just send them a follow-up email to remind them to use the voucher you have just sent to them, or just remind them that the promotion will end soon, something like that. In that case, for this kind of use case, you can also make use of this program to write the journey for that promotion in here, so that the email can be sent in multiple steps automatically according to whether the customer have used the voucher already, or they have made a purchase after receiving your first communication. Okay, and now we'll demonstrate on how to make use of this function to set up these two types of program, and then I will have some exercise for you to try to do it yourself. Okay, so my first example would be a recurring program, which is, for example, it will be a reactivation program. So my use case would be, I like to set up a program to launch an email to those customers who haven't purchased, for example, within the last 3 months. And then after that, we will give them a week to see whether they made a purchase or not. If no, we will send them a reminder to make sure that they receive the voucher and use it. But if they have already made a purchase, we will not send them the reminder. Okay. So for this use case, we will use the recurring program. Sorry, the recurring filter as the entry node. So I just press it once, and it will add these two nodes into the program automatically. So let me give them a name first. Okay. And let me save it first. Okay. So for a recurring filter, there's two nodes need to set up. The first one is the green one. So if you click into it, you can set up how often this program will be run by the system. So you can choose daily, weekly, or monthly. So for this one, I will let it run for every day, and maybe at 9 o'clock every morning. So after you make the configuration, you see the yellow icon will disappear. So if you see this icon, that means this node has some configuration haven't been completed within it. Then for the segmentation, you need to first make use of the segment function we talked about yesterday to set up the criteria first. And for this case, because I want to reach out to people who haven't buy in the last 3 months, so I will create a segment like this. So I will call it inactive customer. And then I will make use of the contact criteria and the predict field we talked about yesterday. So their last purchase day was exactly 90 days ago. So in case their last purchase date is exactly 3 months ago, they will enter this segment, and they will enter the program automatically. Okay, so I set up this segment and save it. And I think I need to refresh this program first. And I should be able to choose this segment. Okay. So I can also rename this node so I know what's going on. Okay. Okay, so now I have defined the entry point of this program. And what I do is I will send them the communication right away through email. So I just add a send email note after it. Okay. So I will just create maybe a reactivation program, or maybe a win back campaign, or something called we miss you email, something like that. And then I will insert it into this node. Okay. And probably I may insert a voucher so that they will have more likely to make another purchase after receiving this email. Okay, so after I send them this email, what I'm going to do is I will wait for a week. And to do that, we can make use of this wait node. Okay, so you can define how long this program will wait for the customer to do the action. So I will just choose 7 days until 9 o'clock. Okay, after waiting for this time, what I'm going to do is I will check whether the contact who received this email had made any purchase during this window of time. So before I send them another message, I'm going to add a segment node. Okay. And in this segment, I'm going to set something like predict last purchase date. Was more than 7 days ago. That means only the customer who hasn't purchased within the last week will enter this segment. Okay. So customer who And if I set up like this, only those person who are in this segment, which means they haven't purchased in the last week, will continue the journey. If they do purchase during this period of time, they will exit the program automatically and will not receive further action. Okay. Then after it, I will send them a reminder email. So I just insert another send email note. And probably I will insert the same voucher so that they will also know that they can use that voucher to make a purchase. And maybe apart from sending them an email, maybe this time I will also display a social media ad to them as well, in case they are not likely to check their email. In that case, you see that in the channel, there's two notes related to CRM ad. One is CRM ad S, and another is remove. So for social media note, we usually do it like this. So first, we will use the add note here. It will mean the customer will be added to the CRM ad audience. So the audience is a group of customers where you display the social media ad to them. So if a customer is being added to this audience, that means at this point, when they visit the social media, then they will start seeing your advertising or the campaign that you have launched to them. Okay. And usually what we are going to do is, for example, if you want to display the ad for this kind of customer for some time, then you will add a way note after it. For example, I want this advertising to display for 7 days, then I will add a way note and wait for 7 days. And after it, I will just add a CRM ad remove note. That means during this 7-day period of time, they will see this advertisement on their social platform. But after that, they will be removed, which means they will no longer see anymore. And this way, you can control the cost you are spending on your social media platform. So that advertisement will not display indefinitely. Okay. Okay. So yeah. For this, maybe I'll also wait for another 7 days. So in case you don't have any subsequent communication sent to your customer after it, this is how you can end your program already. And this is just the whole program that you're gonna, or the journey that you're gonna launch to your customer. But usually, a lot of marketers would like to check whether the customer had converted after all this communication. And to do that, you can use the segment note. You can add a segment note at the end of your program. For example, after this 7 days, just add a segment note here. And in this path as well. And here, because the whole program will be, the whole journey will take 7 days plus 7 days, which means 14 days. So what you're going to do, you can make another segment to see how many customers who have purchased in the last 14 days. So if you have set up this segment note in the end of your journey, within the automation program reporting, you can see how many people have actually made a purchase after going through the whole program. And by obtaining this number and you use the total number of customers who enter the program, you will know how many percentage of customers have converted after this program, so that you can know how effective this program is. Okay, so this is how you can make use of the automation program to run a recurring program. Okay. So far, any question? Should be okay, right? Okay, so I'm gonna demonstrate another example for an ad hoc campaign. Okay, so create another program. Okay, so this time, maybe the use case would be to launch an email to for summer promotion to a target segment. So it's something like launching an EDM, but instead of just an email, maybe I'll also launch them a social media ad for some time. And I would also demonstrate in case your account may have multiple language, or if you want to do A/B testing, how you can do it. Okay, maybe I will do an A/B testing here to see what is the conversion between a test group and the control group. Okay, so for this ad hoc program, so summer promotion. The entry node I'm going to use this time would be the target segment one. So if you choose this entry point, that means when this program is launched, we will just calculate the segment once, and everyone in that segment at that time will enter the program for one time. Okay, and after all this content have run through the whole journey, the program will end and no other people will re-enter this program, because this is a one-time program if you choose this entry node. Okay, so probably I will send to maybe all customer or all opt-in customer. Okay, so this time I like to do an A/B testing, and to do it, we can use a node called A/B splitter. So after you add the A/B splitter node here, you will see it will split your path into two, and you can edit the percentage of people who enter these two paths respectively. So just double click into this node, and then you can modify it. And also you can give a name to each of the paths so you know what they are. And if needed, you can add another path. Okay. In that case, then once a customer reaches this point, 90% of them will go to this path and 10% of them will go the second path. So for the test group, I'm going to launch their message. For example, this time, maybe my brand has a customer who will read English, some will read Chinese, for example. Usually how we do it is we will use segment to separate them into different paths. So for the first segment, I'm going to use, for example, country or language to determine which person will go to this path. For example, the language will be English, then they will go to this path, and then I will split this path into another one, into another segment node. And then language, if it's Chinese, will go to this path. In this way, you can, depending on your contact language, you can send them different version of communication to them. And then, for example, this one, I'm going to send them an email. This one would be summer promotion email, which is the English version. And this one, we'll choose the other campaign in Chinese version. Okay, so this is how you handle multiple language if your brand need one. And for social media ad, I assume you don't have a language problem, then I will just directly add the CRM ad part here. And then I will let them wait for, say, maybe 4 days this time. So I will just add a wait node and wait for 4 days. So the setting is similar to what I just shown, so I will skip this part. For social media path, I will just remove them after this waiting period. And for this one, maybe I will see whether they have opened this email or not before I send them a reminder. And in this case, actually you can skip this wait node because we have a node called email behavior check who can do this for you. So if you double click into this node, you can, for example, if you want to wait for 4 days, then you can specify the time frame in here. So it will wait for this time, and then it will check whether the person who have received the email campaign, if they didn't respond to it at all, or if they didn't click on it, then it will continue the journey. But if they do, they will automatically exit the program accordingly. Okay. So I may do the same here. So in case they didn't react to this email at all, then they will proceed the journey, and I'll send them a reminder email. Okay, and maybe I'll wait for another 3 days before I check whether they have converted or not. And if I won't have any subsequent action for that. So lastly, you can also add the settlement note at the end to see whether they have made a purchase. And then for the control group, because I want to test the conversion rate if they haven't received all this communication. So I would just add a wait note to wait for 4 days plus 3 days, for example, so 7 days. And then I would just check whether they have converted or not after the waiting. So when comparing the conversion rate of this path to this path, you will know how effective are this communication to your customer. Okay, so this is how you can create a one-time program with A/B testing and multiple language version. Okay, so although it looks quite complicated, but the logic behind it is actually quite straightforward and simple. Okay, so before I talk about some other commonly used note in here, then I'd like you guys to do the exercise. But before we move on to the exercise, do you guys have any question, or do you guys have anything that want me to show to you before we start doing that?
Hi, Moses. I have a question regarding the CRM ad. So when you added the CRM ad in the journey, so is there anything we need to do in CRM ad function and in our social media platform?
Yeah, you can do it at the time you're creating the program, or you can create the audience in advance. So if you click into the CRM ad notes, if that audience isn't existing yet, you can choose to create a new audience. So you just select your social media ad account, for example, your Facebook ad account, and then you can give them an audience name. For example, this audience maybe is for summer promotion. So you just give them a name. And then you just choose what field will be used for the content matching between Emarsys and Facebook or Google. And then just press done, and we will create an audience for you using this information. So if you already have created the audience in CRM ad before, you can choose this option and select that audience in this dropdown. Then once a contact reaches this point in the program, they will be added to the selected audience automatically. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So actually everyone, so from a regional perspective, we strongly recommend all the markets to use the CRM app. So actually it's the function being there since we launched the account for all the markets, but it seems for till now, not everyone is using that. So far, what I understand is Australia has been using that and they got a very good performance. And Singapore also connect the CRM ad with their social platform. So after this training, I will send an email to everyone, and we want all the markets to do the connection, to do this action. And if you have any problems, we can work with Emarsys to solve for you guys. But what we wanted every market to do is that we utilize this function to do this kind of marketing campaigns or promotions. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Sissy. So how about is there any other question before we move on? If no, then let's do the exercise. So let me see. Okay, so we have an exercise for you to create a recurring program. So it's actually similar to the first one we create for you. So the background is like that. So you found when you analyze the performance of your customer, you found that a lot of customers had turned into inactive. So that's why you want to create a program in your Emarsys platform to reactivate those inactive customers. Okay, and in this program, everyone can re-enter this program 60 days after they leave it. Oh, I think I forgot to mention this part before. So let me talk about that. So this is usually for the recurring program. For example, like the reactivation program. So that's an important setting in the bottom here, which is the participation setting. So for some program, if you want to limit the frequency of sending the message to your customer, then it's important that you set up the participation setting using this configuration. For example, like abandoned cart or abandoned browse, something like that, because it's possible for a customer to keep adding things into their shopping cart, right? But you don't want to launch them the abandoned cart every time they do it, because it will be too annoying and may have some negative impact to your customer. So for those kind of programs, you may want to set up a participation here. By default, anyone enter this program can re-enter it even if they're still in it, which means if this is an abandoned cart program, then if they, maybe in 2 days, if they both add something to their cart, they will still receive email every time they do it. Okay, so it will be sending email very frequently. But if you want to limit the number of emails going to send to them, you can choose the second option. So a contact can only enter this program again after waiting for this number of days or hours. So for example, if you only want to send the abandoned cart email every 2 weeks, then you can choose the second option and wait for 14 days. And then in this way, after they receive the first abandoned cart email, even if they continue to add things into their cart, they will not receive it again after waiting for this number of days. Okay, in that case, it will be more appropriate and won't annoy your customer too much. And for some program, you may want each contact to only receive it once. For example, the welcome program or some one-time promotion. Then for those, you can choose the last one. Okay, so coming back to the exercise. So for this part, everyone can re-enter the program after 60 days. You can make use of the participation setting to achieve this effect. Okay, so here's the details of this program that you are going to set up. So in your account, just create a blank program and then name it your name and today's date, and then save it. And then right in the beginning, it will ask you to set up the participation setting we just talked about. So to make sure that every contact can only receive the message from this program every 60 days. Okay. And then use this entry point. So the entry point would be inactive contact will enter the program every day at 7 o'clock in the morning. So maybe I'll define the inactive contacts as maybe contact who haven't purchased in last maybe 60 days. Okay. Okay, so we will consider a contact is inactive if they haven't purchased in the last 2 months. Okay. Then so in this part, probably you need to select the correct entry point so that it will run every day to find out this group of people. And then for the journey, there will be an A/B testing. And for the test group, it will receive a reactivation email. And after it, we'll wait for 3 days until the midday. And we will check if there's any contact who did not purchase in the last 4 days. For those people, you will send a reminder email. and then you can end this path directly, or you can choose to add a segment to check the conversion. And then for the control group, you don't need to send them any email or reminder email. Just wait for 3 days, and then you just check how many contacts have been converted, and then you can end it right away. Okay. So I'll give you guys about 15 minutes to do it. So we'll come back at 4 o'clock. Okay. Let me capture this into one screen so we can do this together. And if you guys have any question during the exercise, you can type in the chat or just unmute and let me know. So you may begin now.
Moses, hi, this is can I ask you something really quickly? So on the A/B testing, like, is there something like about the confidence level that is inside the system right now? Like maybe like in terms of the statistic or things like that within Emarsys?
What do you mean by confidence level?
Like, like sometimes when it comes to sample size, like if you have a smaller sample size, you need kind of like how should I say, in mathematically, like usually they say as like, because in Salesforce we have something saying is 95% confidence in terms of whether the result is accurate or is correct or not, because we're trying to prove something, right? So I was wondering, do you have this kind of matrix to show, let's say, oh, if we need to collect 100 audience so that you can get that accurate result, or how does it work in Emarsys?
Yeah, so we don't have a like minimum size of your audience in order to do the A/B testing. So basically, we don't have that kind of requirement or suggestion. So you can just define like how many percentage of person within your segment will go into the test group. Usually we'll do 9:1 ratio. And other than that, we don't really have other best practice regarding that. You can freely define the recipient pool, and then also the ratio between the two groups.
Okay, understand. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so do everyone have enough time to finish it or need any more time to do it? If okay, then I will also try to randomly go into some account, see if I can find program for checking. If no, then I will just demonstrate once. Oops, then I think let me try to do it once really quickly. Okay, so just create a blank program, and then the first part is to set up the participation for 60 days. So just click into the participation and choose the second one, and then type in 60 days. Okay, so in this way, every contact, after they enter the program, they can only do so after 60 days. And then what you're gonna do for entry point is you select the recurring filter. Okay, and then because this program will run every day at 7 in the morning, so you just double click in the first node and then choose daily every 1 day and then 7 o'clock. In the second part, you should go to the segment and then set up the segment like this. So also we make use of the last purchase date. So I want to find people who haven't purchased in the last 60 days. So we should use the was more than 60 days. Okay, in this way we'll find anyone who didn't make a purchase in the last 2 months. Okay, and then you just save the segment and then load it into this segment node here. Okay, so this finished the first part. Then for the second part, we will need to do A/B testing. So right after the entry node, we use the A/B splitter and then separate them into 2 parts. One is 90%, another is 10. And then for the test group, we send them a reactivation email, then wait for 3 days. After waiting for 3 days, so let me also set this up. After waiting for 3 days, we will check exclude contact who did not purchase in the last. Actually, I think the wording here is not correct. So actually, we should exclude contact who did make purchase in the last 4 days. Okay. So you can use segment to do it, or on the other way, you can also use the exclude one. So if I'm gonna use exclude one, I will just set up the segment to customer who had purchased in the last 4 days. Okay, in this way, anyone who do so will be exiting the program. Those who are not will continue. And then they will receive the reminder email after it. And then we end the program. And then in this path, we don't need to send them any email. We only need to wait for 3 days until 1 o'clock. Okay, and then we do the same node here. So this programming will check the conversion at this stage. And this can be the same segment in here. Okay. And we don't need to send reminder email here, so this path can end here. So it will be the correct way to setting up the program for this exercise. Okay. So do anyone have any question about this exercise? Any difficulty or any area that are not clear? Okay. Okay, if no, then I will also introduce you to some other common notes that isn't covered in our example before we move on. So some other notes that are quite commonly used would be, so we have new content, we already talked about it. And for entry point, most likely the common use one will be target segment and recurring filter. But in some specific use case, for example, if you are using the Emarsys form and you want those people who filled in the form to enter a program so you can send a message, then you can use this as the form as an entry point. And then for data change, I can add it to the program first. This is if you want to, for example, collect some data from your customer, and when they do, you want to send them some incentive. For example, maybe you ask them to fill in the gender, date of birth, etc. Then maybe you send them a voucher. Then you can make use of this data change to detect whether a field have been changed. If yes, then those people will automatically enter the program. Then, for example, you can continue to check whether the field is not empty. If yes, then you can send them an email with the voucher in it. Okay. And then external event is for connecting this program with the API trigger from external source, for example, from your website. So in case you want to do some transactional email, like, for example, reset password, or maybe you want to send them a delivery notice, something like that, you can make use of that to do the integration. So this will be the commonly used one. Should be enough for you guys to do most of the use case already. And then for here, other thing that you should useful, for example, quick filter. This one is actually just same as the segment one, but this one is more convenient because you do not need to set up a segment. It can allow you to do a quick criteria within the program, but this criteria only limited to one field only. So in case you want to do some filtering using one field only, for example, gender equal female, then you can choose this node instead of the segment one. Then you will skip a step of setting up this segment in the other place, so it can save you time potentially. And then we have something called filter switch. So it's also similar to segment, but instead of making the people who are not included in the segment will exit the program, it will actually separate them into two paths. So in here, you will choose a segment from the dropdown. So for people who are included in this segment, they will run through the first path. And for those who are not, they will run to the second path. So in this way, you can define criteria and then separate them into two different groups, and they will run different journey accordingly. Okay. Yep, and that's it. That's all the nodes that you're gonna use, or you can use in the use case you're gonna set up. And then we have talked about how to create the content of your program, and haven't talked about how to launch it yet. So after you have filled in all these configuration, ensuring that the whole program do not have any missing configuration, then to launch your program, first of all, you need to check whether everything is fine and whether you have set up the correct participation. Once you do, you can save your program, and then there's a drop down here for you to activate your program. So once you have fixed it all, you can click this activate button, and then after you do so, the content will start flowing into your program already. Okay, and then that's in this way the program will start running. And after you activate it, you can choose to pause it, or you can choose to end the program. And you can also make use of this drop-down box to do so. So that's how you can launch a program after you create it. Okay, so that's it for the automation part. Before moving on to the analytic part, do you guys have any questions? If no, then let's move on to the analytic part. So let me see. I'll use the demo account to demonstrate the reporting part. Okay, so because this is a demo account, so you potentially see more reporting in here. In your account, you see less. So first, I want to talk about the strategic dashboard. So you may see a dashboard when you're logging into the account, but this one is a different one, which is another feature our Emarsys have designed for marketers to use. So basically, this dashboard is for marketers to set up their objectives, so they can monitor whether they are achieving their target, and then if they are not, then this screen will allow them to set up their strategy and also set up the tactics to achieve that goals. Okay. Of course, they can also make use of this dashboard to check their progress or how they are doing with Emarsys in terms of revenue. So actually in your account, when you're checking out this dashboard, you will see less things because in your package currently you don't have a function called Smart Insight yet. So we do not have your account cannot check the active customer part yet. So you will see less thing here. But you will be able to see the revenue, and the revenue result will be collected from the represent script. So only the order made on your website who are captured successfully will be counted into the revenue. So it isn't 100% accurate according to your actual sales, but it also provides you some insight in terms of how many revenue you have generated on the website. Okay. So first of all, once you come into this dashboard, you will see this screen over here. So this is the revenue in the last 90 days by default. You'll be able to choose the time frame by using this setting. And then you will see his actually there's two lines in this graph. So the one in darker color is the current period, while the line in pale color is the last period. Okay, so you can choose what comparison we are doing, whether if you're doing, for example, the last month, then whether you're comparing it to the same period last year or the previous period. Okay. And you can also choose the view as daily, weekly, or monthly, and this graph will be updated accordingly. And this is the actual revenue number we have collected during this time period. And you can see there's a green figure below it. This is whether it has increased or decreased when comparing to the previous period. Okay, so at one glance, you can see how well you are doing in the period you have selected. Okay. Okay, so the first function of this dashboard is for you to check and do comparison of revenue for a selected period. And another feature of this is you can set up target in this dashboard by clicking this button. So currently, because in your package you can only see revenue data, so you can set up the target based on the revenue. So for example, maybe in this year, or maybe this quarter, this coming quarter, maybe you have a target to increase your revenue for 10%. Then you can select objective as revenue, and then you need to increase 10%. Or if you have other goals, you can change it here. So it can be a percentage or a fixed amount if you want to. And then during what period? So if it is this quarter, then I can select it here. So it's the first quarter of this year. And then for this increase, whether we compare it to Q2 this year or the Q3 last year, you can configure it in this setting. Okay, and then after you setting this up and checking this summary is correct, then you can press this to confirm it. So what you will do is you will add another dashboard in the top of the screen. What you will see is how long is your target and where you are so far. So by checking this screen, you will see at this moment of time, how long are you with your current position until your target, okay? And you can set up more target if you want. For example, this is a quarterly target, and maybe I also have a yearly target that I need to achieve. So I would just set another target by changing the time frame. And for yearly, maybe I need to increase for 15%. So this will be my yearly target, and this one will be the quarterly one, okay? So you can set up more if you want, for example, monthly, weekly, etc. And if you have the Smart Insight feature, you can also set up target in terms of number of active customers. But as for your package now, you do not have this figure yet, okay? So once you have set this up, then you can constantly monitor how well you are doing. Okay, for example, it's almost the end of this quarter, then you can see how long you still need to work to achieve your goals. And you can set up this dashboard as the first screen you log into Emarsys. So every time you log in here, you'll be able to see this target. Okay. Then, for example, I see that I still need to reach this target in this quarter. So you may need to plan what's the coming action to achieve this goal. Then when you scroll down this dashboard, there are multiple figures that can help you to doing so. Again, you will see less graph in your account because some of the graph here will be related to active customer. So by looking at this, actually each of these graphs, some different kind of metrics that are affecting revenue and active customer growth. Okay, for example, for revenue, it displays how well you're doing in terms of driving first purchase. Okay, every day, this is a graph of every day how many leads have been converted to a first-time buyer. Okay, and then also, for example, customer churn. I think you do not have this one. And then web traffic, you will have it. Average order value of each day, and purchase frequency, etc. Okay, so you will be able to see the trend of the current period, and also the lighter color one is the trend of the last period. So you will see, you'll be able to compare in this different kind of strategy or area whether they are doing better than the last period or whether they have become worse. Okay, so by just taking a quick look at all these figures, whether they are green color or in red color, you can see which strategy or which area with doing not so well. So for example here, I'll see that for this green one, we are doing quite well. But for example, increasing premium customer revenue or the number of order actually is dropping in the current period. Okay, so to achieve my target this quarter, I can focus on increasing or improving this situation so that probably will accelerate the revenue growth more than to focus on this area that we are already doing pretty well. Okay, so this screen will give you insight to help you with the planning of what you're going to do in the next step. So now you have identified which area you may want to do more to achieve your target. Then you can, for example, now I want to increase more orders in the coming period. What you can do is you can click into get better result with tactics on this screen. It will bring you to a function called tactics. So this tactics function is basically, it will group all the use cases that are commonly used by our customer, and they have categorized into driving different kind of strategy. For example, for increasing number of orders, we have a use case called progressive profiling. So I think it's for capturing your client's mobile phone number and let me see. and then send them SMS with a reward, something like that. But I think you don't have an SMS, so you cannot use this one. But there are more other tactics if you want to. For example, abandoned browse, abandoned cart, this common kind of campaign. Or if you just want to do something new and you don't know what to start, you can also come take a look at this function. You'll be able to access this page as well by going to automation and then tactic. So you'll be able to see what use case maybe you are not currently doing, and you can reference this and then or just using this tactic to help you adopt those use case quickly. Okay, so there are many that you can choose from or take a look at. In case, for example, you find some tactics that you are interested in launching in your account. For example, maybe the abandoned browse, for example, you can click into it and it will display more information about this tactic for you to take a look. So on the left-hand side, I have a short description about what this tactic is doing. For example, these are the steps of this program. So we will look for customers who have ended their visiting session and without a purchase, and then they will receive email with voucher and recommendation. And if they didn't purchase after a certain time, they will receive a reminder email. And if this program is something you want to do, then what you can do is you can select the package that you like to launch the tactic. So it's basically different package will have whether they have recommendation or not. Okay, and then you can choose in this tactic you want to launch to email only or email plus CRM app. And later on, if you have more channel like the web channel one, or if you have the mass AI package, then you can choose more options. Okay. So after choosing this and press this button, then you can click this create tactic button. What it will do is it will generate an automation program within your account. And also it will generate all the segment and campaign in this program as well. So I think in this account, we already generated, so I can actually take a look at how it looks like. So after it has been generated like this one, it will already contain all the contents automatically. So you don't need to create your automation program from scratch. And also for other segments that are within this program and also any campaign like the email, they are also created for you. For example, the entry segment. You can click into it to see whether the criteria you look for here is something you want to do. For example, this abandoned browse segment is fine for, so first we find people who had updated their last session day, which means they have visited your site already. And then you check whether in the last 5 days, whether they have made a purchase. And also the last session visiting time, it have to be longer than 180 seconds. Okay, so if you want, you can change this configuration. If no, then you can just directly use the criteria set up in this segment that we generate for you. And then you can also check the campaign that it has been generated for you. For example, for this email that we're going to send at this point, we also generated a campaign for you, and it looks something like this. So it will have our lifestyle label branding. So you can take reference at this content, and then you can create your own campaign and then insert it into this node. Or if you want to save some time, then what you can do is maybe you go into this campaign, replace the logo and the footer area, and of course some of the wording and banner in between. Then you can make use of the campaign directly as well. So after checking for all the segment and the email campaign that have been generated, what you can do is ensuring everything is the use case that you're going to launch, then what you can do is just directly activating this campaign. And that's how you can already launch the tactics that you have selected. Okay, so this function can allow you to really quickly adopt some new use case that you haven't been doing in your current Emarsys account. Okay, so it also connected to the strategic dashboard we just talked about. So it allows marketers to, from their objective, to plan out what they're gonna do and to execute it directly. Okay, so you guys can check this function out and see whether you will start utilizing it to execute some new use case in the Emarsys account. Okay, so that's how you can utilize this function. So this is the first report we're gonna cover. And then the second one I'd like to talk about would be the revenue analytics. So a lot of marketers really like to see how well their campaigns are doing. So if you want to do it, just come to this report. It's under analytics as well. It's called revenue analytics. So here on the first graph, this is the line graph is the total revenue captured from WebScan as well. And then the one with darker color is the revenue that can be attributed to any campaign. Okay, so by default, the way we attribute the revenue would be like this. So in management, we have some setting called revenue attribution. By default, we use the attribution model. We use the last touch model, and then the window will be 7 days. And then we use email click as a touch point. So this setting means that if someone has received your email and they have clicked into it, click any link within it, and within 7 days of that action, if they made a purchase on your website, the revenue of that order will be attributed to that email that they have clicked. Okay, so if they have to click multiple email, the last one, the revenue will be attributed to the last one. Okay, so this setting, if you want to change it, you can come to this setting to change it accordingly. And this attributed revenue is based on that configuration to do the calculation. And this percentage is the total attributed revenue over the total revenue. So you can see how well your Emarsys launched campaign are doing by checking this graph. You can also modify the time frame to check the result of a specific time frame. And if you scroll down, you can see the ranking of your top performing program during that time. So this part is for program. So if you have multiple automation program running, you can check which one is bringing the more revenue and making more impact than the other one. So apart from that, you can also see how much the number of purchases that have been generated and what are their average order value. Okay. And the last one would be the top performing campaigns. So in here, you're going to see the email campaigns ranking. So it would be like EDM or maybe your automated campaign to see how many revenue is generated, which one has the best effect. Then by analyzing it, you may see what kind of content will generate more profit for you, and you can use it to plan for your future campaign. Okay, so this is a really useful screen for marketer to check how well they're doing with their program or with their campaigns. Okay. Okay, and then next, gonna talk about some general reporting. So the first one is trends. So this one, if you just want to check like open or click or purchase or deliverability for a certain time in general, then you can come to this report. So basically, this is a graph, and then you can select what kind of metrics that you like to check. For example, open rate, click rate, or not the rate, maybe the total number of open and click. Then you can see the graph directly to see the trends, or number of purchase, or even complaint and subscribe. We have that kind of metrics for you to check. Or you can use that to check the deliverability as well, to see whether there are any abnormal bounds issue. Okay, and then basically the number of this graph are within the table below. Okay, so you can export this as a CSV, so you can do your own reporting or other calculation outside of Emarsys if needed. Another useful thing of this report is the comparison tab. So this tab, if you go into it, the graph here actually separated for each campaign. Okay, so by taking a look at this table, you'll be able to compare the performance of each individual campaign. Or if you want to export the data of your campaign, you can make use of this screen as well. Okay. So this is the trends report. And then the other one, if you have been using Emarsys, I believe you already have checked that quite often, which is the email analysis. So this one, once you have launched any kind of EDM, or if you have start using automation program, you can use this report to check the performance of a specific campaign. Okay, so each campaign that has been launched can be found here. And in this screen, first you can see the number of emails that have been sent for the campaign, the open rate and the click rate. Okay, and for click rate, you can see two numbers because one is unique click and another one is the total click. Okay, and if you want to see more detail, you can click this show button to go into that detailed report. So if your campaign is a recurring one, you'll be able to see this trend report. But if it is one-off one, you won't be able to see anything. And usually we'll check the result summary. So here you will be able to see the breakdown of, for example, if there's some email that was not sent out, you'll be able to see the breakdown of why they are not being sent out. Maybe some contact in the segment don't have an email address, or maybe the format of the email address is incorrect, something like that. And for those emails that have been sent, if some of them have bounces, you can also see the breakdown of what are the bounce reasons, okay, whether they are soft bound, hard bounce, or block bounce. And then for the deliver email, there's a breakdown of how many are open or click. And you can see some of the figure if they are in blue color, you can click into it to see the drill down. For example, I want to see all the people who have opened the email, you can click into it. And it will bring you to this list of contacts. But this is a demo account, so it didn't display anything. And then you can press this button to save this list of contacts as a list. So you can export it, or you can target it in other campaign. And then most of the figures in the right-hand side are our legacy function and no longer used. For example, the social sharing and the email format. But some figures are still you can use, which is the unsubscribed number and the complaint one. And you can also check the revenue number in here as well. Okay, so this screen will allow you to check the general information and performance of your campaign. Another useful screen will be this one, but because this campaign is just a testing one, so it may not be really clear. But in case, for example, your EDM, you will see the whole EDM content within this screen. And then basically for each of the clickable links that we are tracking the performance, you will see a bubble like this. And for some links that have been clicked a lot of time, it will be marked in green. For those other who are doing average and worse, then it will show in orange and red. So basically, this is a heat map of how well the clicking is doing in your EDM. So you can see what kind of link is more attractive to your customer. So these are the common things that our users are using to track their emails performance. And that's all for the analytics part. So any question, or is there any other analytic or insight you'd like to check that want me to showcase to you? Okay, so basically, these are all the topics that I would like to cover in today's training. So we still have some time. In case you guys have more questions, you guys can feel free to raise now. or if you have something that would like me to show to you in the remaining time, you can also let me know.
Hi, Moses. So we still have time. Can you talk a little bit about the SMS? We know that we are not using it right now, but I think some markets are interested. So I remember Thailand team asked the question yesterday, and Hong Kong team is also looking to it. So how can we use the SMS function in Emarsys?
I remember SMS isn't currently in your package right now, right?
But what if we add it, and is that very straightforward? Or
it's quite straightforward. It will have because it's an additional function, so it will require cost. So if you guys are interested, you can let Fiona know, and she will provide you with the cost. And I can let you know to see how it looks like. So in case you have added to your account, you will see inside channel, there will be another, apart from email and CRM, you will also see the SMS. So you have a dashboard showing you the general performance, and then you'll be able to create campaigns. So SMS campaign is pretty straightforward. So let me see.
Are you working with like a third party or the service provider or what?
Yeah. In the back end,
because we have different countries here, every local market will have a local third party vendor to do the service.
Yeah, same here. So at the back end here, we have different vendors as well. So we are going to using their service to send out the SMS, but for the configuration side, it is all being done within the screen you're seeing here. Okay, so you'll be able to select segment and launch the SMS to them. And then, for example, maybe this is a demo account, so it didn't allow me to do so. So maybe I just open an existing one. Let's see if there's any way I can show you. Yeah. So in the content creation, it's quite straightforward. You just need to input your sender ID here, and then input your content in here. So this is just like how you edit the email, right? So this is the live preview. And what you need to do is input the message here. And you can also insert personalization if needed. For example, the first name of your customer or a voucher code as well. And then you can make use of this text message function, input your mobile phone number here, and we will send one text message to that mobile phone. Okay. And you can insert unsubscribe link, or if you have your own link that you like to track, you can also input it here. And the next step would be either using the automation program that we have just shown you to launch the SMS, or you can directly schedule it a time to launch this SMS. So this function is quite easy to use. And I can show you how it looks like in the automation program. So basically, if you have the SMS function, in the automation program, you just see one additional node when you are creating. So within the channel part, you will see this one, the send SMS node here. So in case in your program, you apart from sending email, if you want to send them an SMS, just add this node into your journey, and then at that point, it will launch a SMS to your customer. So for the case you asked yesterday about launching SMS to person who are not reacting to your email, just use the same logic we just talked during the automation part. and then follow up with, instead of the reminder email, you send them a SMS. And then that's how you can do the result of launching a reminder SMS in your program. Okay. And then for the reporting of SMS is a bit similar to the email one. So also have different kind of breakdown that you can check. And one special thing about SMS is it works on a prepaid logic. So you see there's a balance over here. So before you are able to send any SMS, you need to top up your balance with us first. So for example, you need to top up $1,000 here, and then every time you launch one SMS, the balance will be deducted from it. Okay, so if you see there's no balance in here, that means you cannot launch any SMS. And different region will have different SMS unit price, and this will be provided to you while we are scoping the SMS with you. So that's a general look at our SMS function.
Thank you, Moses. Yeah, I will check with Fiona for the rating.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, apart from this, do you guys have anything you want to see?
So Moses, can I ask, like, when it comes to the program that we run, right? So you mentioned we can do the A/B testing, right? So where do I get the, get the result to showcase really quickly?
Yeah, so once you have launched your program, then you can check the report of the program by clicking this button, the summary button. So let me see if there's any program that have been launched. For example, this one maybe. And in this report, you can see the actual journey here. And on top of each node, you will see a number. And this number is the number of contacts who have passed through this node. So to check the conversion rate, you can check the final segment number and then the total number of contacts who have entered the program. For example, maybe there's a total of 100 people that have entered the program, and at last, there are 10 persons who have made a purchase. And by using these two numbers and using this report, you'll be able to calculate that the conversion rate of this program would be 10%. Okay, so this report is how you can track the performance of your program.
So is there any download button for the report, or I have to, visualize it in here?
You need to calculate using here. No download button in this report.
Okay, I see.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If no, then that's it for today. So thank you all for joining this training, and I'll send you guys the recording afterward. Okay. So thank you guys.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Moses, for the time, for the training.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.